When you think of anime movies, there's a style that dominates the space, and it's for a good reason. That style would be the sad, emotional, sometimes romantic, nicely animated movies, with directors leading the charge such as Makoto Shinkai with A Garden of Words, 5 cm per second, and Your Name, Shinichiro Ushijima with I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, Naoko Yamada with A Silent Voice, and Mario Okada with Makuya, to just name a few. Looking at the highest rated anime movies online, you start seeing these popping up all over the place, starting around the top from anywhere as high as second, or even first depending on the site you use. And these continue to scatter all around the top 100, even in normal anime, not just movies. So with this booming popularity for this style of movie, it blows my mind that a certain source material still hasn't been adapted. That source is the light novel and manga 3 Days of Happiness. Once I finished reading this initially, I thought there must be a movie adaptation, because it fits the style and story type of these movies so well. But here I am, making this video, so here's why it would make an incredible movie. Before I get into the story and what it's about, let's take a look at the background of our author, Suguru Miyake. Miyake began in 2011 posting under the name Gen Fuke, which gained a decent amount of popularity. Afterwards, in 2013, their first novel Starting Over was published by MediaWorks Bunko. Then their next 3 main works, 3 Days of Happiness, Pain Pain Go Away, and Parasite in Love, are all also published by MediaWorks Bunko. All of these stories cover morality, life in its finiteness, and relationships. Just some light, easy reading. But their willingness to write about these rough, deep topics is what makes their stories feel so endearing and painful. Anyway, onto the story. Stuck in a dead end with no money and selling his final worldly possessions, Kusunoki comes upon the information of a place that will buy part of his lifespan. After coming across this information twice in a row, he finds himself in front of the establishment and has an assessment of his lifespan, initially estimating his life to be, at minimum, worth 300 million yen, just to find his self-worth completely blown out of the water by the fact his final 30 years are only worth a mere 300,000 yen, 10,000 yen a year. Throwing caution to the wind, he sold all 30 years, leaving just 3 months of his life remaining. But because of this, he's given an observer, as there's been a history of people who sell down to less than a year and cause all kinds of trouble. The story follows Kusanagi and his observer, Miyagi, spending these 3 months dealing with the finiteness of existence and the fleeting nature of relationships. It's a very heart-wrenching story of a guy who let his life get away from him, learning just how much he neglected everything. If I want to talk about more, I'm gonna have to start spoiling some shit. So skip to this timestamp if you want to read the manga yourself, or just go without spoilers, which you absolutely should if you haven't already. So, on with the spoilers if you want to know why this shit makes my chest hurt when I read it. Kusanogi's first instinct is to make a list of the things he wishes to do in his final 3 months, as most people would probably think to do. But Miyagi begins to poke holes in his list with her knowledge of how his life was supposed to go in the first place. And things begin to go awry very fast, when Kusunoki realises every relation he's ever had has been neglected or founded on misunderstandings, and is faced with that fact as clear as day. His last hope at love, his only remaining friend, his childhood friend first love, all crumble before his very eyes. However, in contrast to this, as time goes by, Miyagi slowly begins to open up to Kusunoki about how she became an observer, how she was only harsh on him because of how similar they feel, and more about her as they spend more time together. It's heartwarming to see this contrasted so openly. The back half of this story truly brings me to tears, and I honestly recommend reading it if you enjoy this style of movie that I mentioned in the intro. I won't cover anything more with the story because I feel like I just can't do it justice explaining it like this, and you really just need to experience it. Just know it's incredibly written, with characters you really come to love and care for over just a mere 16 chapters of manga or 15 chapters of light novel, which is some kind of crazy wizardry magic bullshit. So what makes this author and their work so fit to this style of movie? A few things to say the least. To start with, the story just has that same feeling and ambience as movies like A Silent Voice and I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, where they really toy with your moralities and how you feel about the characters, but pulls you in deeper to make you really care about what happens to them. With how vastly popular those movies are, I'd have no doubt the story being a hit with crowds that enjoy this style. The characters are deep and charming throughout, dragging you towards the conclusion of the story. Next is the length. As a light novel, it's a mere 15 chapters, and the manga extends that to 16. With it being such a short story, it would suit the movie setting perfectly whilst giving the characters and the mood of the story enough time to spread its wings and draw in the viewer. When other popular movies whose paper sources or adaptations are generally between 7 and 13 chapters, it's obvious the length would be perfect. Finally, when looking at the manga, I can almost see the scenes animated before my eyes, in an older Makoto Shinkai style, think A Garden of Words, and be absolutely breathtaking. I'll show a few spoiler-free-ish panels where I can just feel I'd hear a movie crowd gasp for breath at the sight of them. I truly do wish to see this novel animated in a way that would do it justice. That's my feelings. That's what I have to say about 3 Days of Happiness, and why it should absolutely be adapted into a movie. If this has gotten you interested, please go read the novel or the manga. It's a wonderful story that is an experience to be had. I'll leave links to both the novel and manga entries on anime tracking websites below. But that's all. Let me know what you think in the comments. Peace.